So now, in terms of the Utah Jazz, so this season, I think is going to be big for the Utah Jazz. And I kind of label this season for the Utah Jazz as being the season that is decision season. We got decisions that need to be made about who's going to be our starting point guard, whether it be an Isaiah Collier or Walter Clayton Jr., or even if it's Keontae George. But I don't think Keontae should be playing the two. If you saw him last season, Keontae George, in my opinion, should be closer to a shooting guard playing the two, even though, yes, I know he can play the one. I do prefer him playing the two because I don't believe he's got the vision or the point guard skill set to play the point guard position at a consistent rate over the course of an 82 game season. Nevertheless, he still is somebody that I would play either at the one, only if there are injuries, or depending on who we're going up against. But nevertheless, at the two guard position, is it going to be Keontae or Bryce? And I know everybody loves Keontae, and I'm a big Keontae George fan. He's one of the reasons why I really became a Utah Jazz fan nowadays. But we cannot discount Bryce. And you know what? You know what? Let's actually look at Bryce Sensabaugh. Let's look at Bryce. Let's look at what Bryce did this past season. So Bryce played uh, 20 minutes, well, close to 20 minutes. He gave you 10 points, which when you're seeing through half the minutes that he played, he's given half of that, he's giving you points. Still gave you 3 rebounds with that and gave you assists. I think that that's pretty fair. I actually think that that's pretty good. Now, as player efficiency rating, I think a lot of that encapsulates how the Jazz performed. Like, there is a formula on how you calculate player efficiency rating, so I do understand why it's probably come out to below average. But I expect Bryce Sensabaugh to get more, to at least average more minutes than what he got last season. I expect Bryce Sensabaugh to average about 25 minutes a game next season. And the same thing there goes to Keontae George. His shooting percentage, his true shoot is wild. 61% shooting percentage. Bryce Sensabaugh is a shooting god. We cannot just discount Bryce. We got to give Bryce an equal opportunity to go for that starting two guard position. And I really like what Bryce gave. We saw him at Summer League, and they stopped him at Summer League in Salt Lake. He never even got to Vegas. Never got to Vegas. Stopped at Summer League and was just like, "Yep, you know what? You're done," because he was just that damn good. And we cannot discount Bryce. But I like Bryce, even though I know he can play the three. I would prefer him to be a big two. So for me, I'm seeing him more. I'm putting him more as a guard rather than a wing. But yeah, like for Bryce, you could probably go either way. But the same things that I say for Bryce, I'll say to Keontae is that both have to defend. I think that's going to be pivotal to us even trying to progress forward. I think like a lot of people have been saying online, other Jazz fans, are so obsessed with the draft pick from OKC and that, we have to tank. And I just roll my eyes because I can't stand tanking. Like, I hate tanking. Like, the fact that tanking is even in the game, like, it's just like, it's wild to me. Like, it's just crazy. How can you go out there and put weakened sides just to lose games? Like, the whole system is broken. I wish it was fixed, but that's all for another story. But they all have to defend. Sensabaugh, George, Clayton Jr., Collier, you have to defend. If they don't defend, then it's all going to get ripped up. And I truly do believe that. Playing the three we got to talk about Ace Bailey now. So, Ace we drafted at number 5. I loved what Ace Bailey did at Summer League. He is potentially going to be our star. Like the Jazz have a star in Larry Marketing, and Larry I love, and I know everybody loves Larry as well. But when looking at the Jazz's timeline, like I definitely think that there are some valid facts on whether Lowry's going to be here long term. And I know some people argue that he will be here long term, and I hope he does. But Ace Bailey definitely will be that. I expect I expect Ace Bailey to play 60 games for the Jazz minimum. Playing in like either in the starting lineup or coming up off the bench. I expect him to get at least 20 minutes a game because that's what every other player, every other guy who's been at least playing, every other guy who's got drafted 1 through 30 for the Jazz, they've got at least 20 minutes. Cody Williams, who I'll get to in a sec, got 20 minutes a game. So I expect Ace Bailey minimum to get 20 minutes, probably closer to 25. But what Ace Bailey gives us, he gives us an opportunity to potentially go from being, I think, good to being playoff tier. You're talking about a guy who's compared to Kevin Durant, to Tracy McGrady, and even at his worst, his worst comparison was Michael Porter Jr., who just got drafted to the Brooklyn Nets, who, when he was in college, was a damn good shooter. The only problem with Michael Porter Jr. is that he just never liked playing defense, which is why the Denver Nuggets mainly played him for coming up off the bench. But I know Ace Bailey could play defense, and if you watch Summer League, at least the Salt Lake Summer League, you saw a guy who can play defense. And I think Ace Bailey's going to be just fine. He's going to get his minutes. I think he'll get some time in the G League, but I think he's going to get about 60 to 65 games for the Jazz. I think the Jazz are they're gonna wrap him in cotton wool, as the saying goes, but still they're gonna give him an opportunity to grow. And I think that they will try to start him as much times as they can, which is why I believe game 1 in the NBA, he will be starting for the Jazz. I'm saying it now. Ace Bailey will start for the Jazz game 1 at the small forward. Now, the rotation guy behind him is Cody Williams. Now, Cody, I've kind of had a love-hate relationship with Cody for a while now. I like what Cody's able to do in terms of his length. He seems like a really good person. Like, I've watched a ton of interviews on the Utah Jazz YouTube page on Cody Williams. I watched his draft night, watched his family, his brother, and he looks like he comes from a really great family and really great stock. But Cody Williams was awful last season. And we got let me load up Cody here. Let's load up Cody here. 6.0 is his player efficiency level. This is one of the lowest player efficiency ratings out of all the guys, and I'll show you that. Cody Williams is bad. 6.0 player efficiency rating. True shooting percentage was 41.9, which isn't too bad. Played 50 games last season, but averaged 21 minutes, 4 points in 20 minutes, 2 rebounds in 20 minutes, 1.8 assists in 20 minutes, not good enough. It just isn't good enough. And there's no way to come away from that. I do hope, I really hope that Cody performs better this season. I wish him nothing but the best because he plays for the Utah Jazz. I really do wish him the best. I hope that he gets the time to be able to show the skills that he will. And looking at what he did at Summer League, I do think that he will show the skills that this next season. I don't think he's going to get the amount of minutes that he got last season, though. This 21 here, this is good. This 21 here is going to drop down to 15 for sure. I like beyond a shadow of a doubt. Like I do believe that's going to drop down to 15. I don't believe that he's getting any more than 15 minutes a game. And I think with that, I hope that Cody will take, with that 15 minutes, that this will go to like 9 to 10 in 15 minutes. And these rests could stay the same. Preferably, maybe the assists to go to like 2 assists in that 15 minutes. That's the only way that Cody Williams manages to get on this team long term. But right now, things are bad for him. This is, I think, part of the reason why we drafted John Tonje as like a just in case. John Tonje that plays as small forward. And I know even though John Tonje is going to be there at playing a lot of G League games for the most part, to be really frank, like it's going to be him and Cody. Like, which one's better? That's what I think. But I do hope that that Cody does manage to pull it around and maybe ends up being a rotation player, which I think is probably going to be his ceiling, which I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of drafting a guy just to be a rotation player, but I definitely think that the Jazz completely messed up with the whole drafting Cody Williams. I mean, it's one of the reasons why, if you didn't hear, why there were people there that got let go from the Utah Jazz. They didn't say the reason why, but I'm gonna suspect that it's because of the Cody Williams draft, and that was one of the rumors that it had a lot to do with it. But I expect Cody Williams to be the rotation for that. Then at the power forward position, you've got Lowry Marketing, who's starting. I'm going to just let the cat out the bag. Lowry starting. There's no getting away from that. Lowry Marketing is going to start for the Utah Jazz. And I do think that it'll be Kyle Filipowski, who I've said on the stream that like I really like. I love Kyle Filipowski and what he can do. Kyle Filipowski will be kind of his backup. And it's going to be a close one because I do think that Taylor Hendricks, who's rumored to be, he's most likely going to be ready for this beginning of the season. Looking at some of the content that I've seen from Cody Williams, sorry, not Cody Williams, Taylor Hendricks this in summer. Taylor Hendricks looks like he's ready to play, or at least close to it. And looking at the Jazz's Twitter feeds, it looks like we should be good with Taylor Hendricks at the beginning of the season. But I do expect Lowry to start, and then it's going to be Kyle and Taylor. It's going to be the ones kind of battling it out for minutes. Let me see. I completely forgot. How many minutes did Kyle Filipowski play this season? So 21 minutes. So my guess is that's probably going to go down slightly to about 20 minutes. And I think a lot of the minutes are going to be shared out. I think they're going to try to give Kyle Filipowski some minutes at center, even though I don't like it. Like I think I've made this quite clear that for me, Kyle Filipowski is a four who's a situational five. And the situation is the right situation, depending on who we're going up against. If we have injuries, but not if you're like, yeah, everybody's healthy. We're going to start Kyle Filipowski at the five. No, I am a complete disagreement with Kyle Filipowski playing the five. I prefer him at the four. I think he would do really well at the four. I think that his like the physical gifts, his wingspan just is not long enough. Like when I went and did the research, he's got the same. He's got his wingspan is the same, if not less, than Taylor Hendricks. Like it's not good enough. When he's going up against other 7 footers, like he's not as long as them. Like I think even Ace Bailey has a longer wingspan than him. Like playing him at the five doesn't make any sense unless you just have to. Unless you're going to go and play positionless, that would be the only thing. But then you really need to have lots of versatile guys there to be able to do that, which we're kind of leaning towards that with the Utah Jazz. So it's possible, but we'll really have to see what Will Hardy really does. I'm super excited about what Will Hardy does. There are lots of comments about Will Hardy and that he's going to be allowed to just coach the season. So I'm really looking to see what he's able to do, like for that, and seeing what Kyle Filipowski and Taylor Hendricks and Lowry Markkinen are able to do at the four. I'm really loving. And then at the five, we've got Walker Kessler and Yusuf Nurkic. Now, my thoughts on Yusuf Nurkic, I know that a lot of people's reaction is, why are we getting Yusuf Nurkic if we've got Walker Kessler there and Kyle Filipowski? But I think we getting in Yusuf Nurkic is to really see what it's like, how the Jazz do well with different tactics. Yusuf Nurkic is a big who shoots the ball pretty well. Definitely a lot better than Walker Kessler. Like, he can hit a three. He's not the best rim protector, but he can be a rim protector if need be. Not the greatest, but he can do that. And me watching him at EuroLeague and what he did last season with Phoenix, like I really like him as a player. I think he'd be a good backup. And the fact that the Jazz brought him in only for this season, like his contract runs out at the end of the season, I think it's pretty fair. And I think he's going to play and he's going to get minutes. And I think he should be a good bridge between Filipowski and Walker Kessler. He should help them to be better players, which is what I like. Plus, we got the draft next season, which has a player there who I think the Jazz should draft in Cam Boozer, the son of Carlos Boozer, who's now working with the Utah Jazz. And I think Cam Boozer has a lot of elements that Yusuf Nurkic has. I think that a guy like Cam Boozer, he can shoot the three. I don't think he's as big as Yusuf Nurkic. I think Cam Boozer is about 6'9", but he can shoot the three. He can be a rim protector. He has the size to be physical. That is what Yusuf Nurkic is there to do for the Jazz this season. And I think that's pretty good. That's his role and that's his function. And at the end of the season, we're going to say, you know what? Thank you for your services. We wish you the very best. And everybody just walks away with everything, like he got what he needed from it and we got what we needed from it. And that's what Yusuf Nurkic brings. I do think that Kyle Filipowski will get some, but I expect Walker Kessler to get the bulk of it and Yusuf Nurkic to equally get some minutes as well. We do have a bit of an issue, and I'm not that great at talking about contracts and trades and who we should then go up and get in and around that, but we do have a Walker Kessler situation in that Walker Kessler, he's approaching the end of his contract, and we've got to sort out his contract situation. And I know I watch other YouTube channels talking about the Utah Jazz, and there are. I think we should be a little bit worried because we are so used to playing one way, and I think again this is why Yusuf Nurkic has come into play because he's an experienced guy that have played in different ways and has a different skill set that would open the door to us looking at how we might want to play in the future. But I think the Walker Kessler situation is a problem. It's something that eventually we might have to address. And I expect that at some point, if it turns out that Walker Kessler doesn't want to stay with the Jazz, that we kind of ship him off somewhere. What that looks like, I don't know. I don't know what that looks like, who it's for, what the trade packages is. I'll leave that up to whoever's watching this to what that might be because yeah, that's yeah, I'm like I suck at those type of things. But even if he does get traded away, I know I really do believe that Justin Zanuck and Austin Ainge and Danny Ainge those have the best wishes for the Utah Jazz in mind so that we can go out and get exactly what we need in order to replace Walker Kessler if he does go. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. And then we got to look at like several players here. So we've got John Tonje there, who I've talked about briefly already. I think he's going to be playing lots of G League games for the Jazz this next season. I think that yeah, he's really near the end of the bench. But from what I saw from summer league, like he looked okay. But so far, I'll leave it at that. Then we've got Elijah Harkless, who I became a fan of Elijah Harkless through summer league. I really loved his defense. Really loved his defense. Like if you wanted to show like this is how you go up and defend, like defend man on man, this goes out to Keontae George, Bryce Sensabaugh, Isaiah Collier, and Walter Clayton Jr. This is how you defend. Elijah Harkless does it all day long. He gets up in their face, super physical, and I do think he's going to get games as well. I don't think we should just kind of rule him out. For me, I have him on my list as the Utah Jazz's kind of third choice shooting guard. I think he's good. I think he's good. I don't think people shouldn't dismiss him because the Jazz didn't draft him and that he's somebody that is a little bit on the older side and just isn't really naturally part of the Jazz. But I do like him. Then we've got KJ Martin, Kenyon Martin Jr. Now, I like Kenyon Martin Jr. Let me just come out rightly and say that. I like the skill set that he could bring. He's got a defensive mind and he could defend one on one and he can defend 1 through 3 pretty easily, if not the four in some situations. I think I'd rather him be a small forward, but defend. Yeah, I'd love to see how things go there. But for me, I like KJ Martin there just for his defense. I don't think that that's something that we should pass up. I don't think that's something that we should just get rid of just because his like I think his deal's due to expire this season and he's non-guaranteed until like middle of January, which tends to be like a weird one. But yeah, we'll see how that turns out. But I really like him. I haven't seen any pictures of him with the Utah Jazz, which has me a bit worried. But we'll have to see how things go with that. But I hope KJ Martin gets an opportunity to stay. And yeah, but yeah, things at least from the outside looking in doesn't look good. Then we've got Kevin Love there, who's on the roster, but from what I understand, is trying to get a breakaway from the Utah Jazz, which I think is understandable. He is near the end of his career and he needs to kind of go. I think this is an opportunity. Like he came in a trade that, yeah, it is what it is. But I think it's one last opportunity for him to probably try to win a championship after getting traded from the Heat. You got Georges Niang, which I think this is actually good for the dressing room. Um, I'm I I'm happy with Georges Niang, but I have to say that when I've heard online about the reasonings why we should be happy with Georges Niang creating a good dressing room atmosphere, I didn't realize that even we had an atmosphere that wasn't that great. Maybe it's because we got rid of a lot of the vets. Maybe they're just trying to preempt uh, having like a discombobulated dressing room atmosphere. So that's the reason why we brought him in. But I like Georges Niang. I definitely think he's going to get games. Um, I think it's it's going to be one of those where like Georges Niang will play, but I think the games where you want to rest Lowry, that's when he will start. I think he'll also get some rotation minutes as well. It'll be it's a tough situation. There's going to be so much competition at the four for minutes. Like when I really think about it, it's it's a tough one. Like if Taylor Hendricks looks like he's ready, you got Georges Niang there for playing the four. You got Kyle Filipowski there who has to play the four, and then you got Lowry Market in there who's a four. Yes, he could still play the three, but I prefer Lowry there at the four. So it's yeah, it's going to be so unfair because guys like Georges Niang should be getting minutes. And then you've got Kyle Anderson there, who's playing the three. He also should be getting some minutes there as well. I expect him. I think that he will get a lot more minutes than Georges Niang, just because you've really got Ace Bailey, who he's the number fifth pick. He's starting for sure. Ace Bailey's starting unless he's injured. Then probably Kyle Anderson. Then probably Cody Williams. That's how I think it's going to be. Kyle Anderson's going to get a good number of minutes. That's exactly what you expect, and I expect him to get a fair amount of minutes there in that regards. Then you got how did I forget Svi Mihailuk? I Svi Mihailuk isn't going to play every game. I'm actually quite surprised that they signed Svi Mihailuk. If you want me to be honest, like they I can't believe they re-signed him. Or they gave them like they guaranteed his deal for the year. Like I think he's going to be part of some type of trade package. I'm not a Svi Mihailuk fan. Not a Svi Mihailuk fan at all. I don't think we needed him. I'm surprised that they kept him. Yeah, I don't get the Svi Mihailuk. I don't get why he's here. I don't know. I don't know. But uh, yeah, and then finally there's Oscar Shibwe, who's back. We sent the qualifying offer out for Oscar Shibwe. And I think we've resigned him, or at least he's training with us. Like I need to kind of clarify that. But Oscar Shibwe is still around. And I like Oscar Shibwe. I just wish he was like 6'10", 6'11", or 7 foot. But again, he's got long arms. He can play the center. His game is very limited, but really good rebounder when he was in college. I like what he was doing with the Pacers who drafted him. But with the Utah Jazz, he's been great. So maybe he might get an opportunity, but I think he's going to be mainly like a G League player. Is probably what I guess overall. But that's that's really it for me. So I think I've covered all of the guys that got drafted this year in this year's draft. I've looked at most of the guys who got drafted last year, who were the kind of bright spots for me, and as well as giving my kind of preview predictions for the Utah Jazz. Yes, it's a bit of a longer one. And I do like these ones as I just really get to talk about basketball, talk about the Utah Jazz, talk about some of the really good shining bright spots of the NBA really coming through. And I hope that to everybody that's watching this in the future, that you really want to join me on this journey of kind of keeping an eye out on some of these kind of bright young spots, players in the NBA. And if you're a Utah Jazz, following me into following the Utah Jazz this season. And we're just gonna just watch lots of basketball. We're gonna enjoy some good play. We're gonna hope to see who's the kind of next big guys coming through and who could potentially be that kind of next breakout star, and then really take it from there. But if I had to summarize everything, I'm gonna say that the breakout star for this year will probably be Cooper Flag. I think the boy wonder cannot do no wrong. I think that the NBA really going to be backing him. You've got Kyrie Irving that's going to be is going to be injured, and he's going to be given the ball to run with. I think the Dallas Mavericks fans need something to run with. I think that in terms of who's going to break out this season from last year, I do think it's going to be Stephen Castle again. I think that he really showed what he can do. You saw, like, let me just load up Stephen Castle again here. I think Stephen Castle really showed what he can do. And even though his efficiency rating is at 14.2, you know, like I always, when I'm looking at players and actually I'm watching the game, and when you're looking at the regular box scores, you're looking at minutes per game. How does the points per game translate to minutes per game? How does the rebounds per game translate to the minutes per game? And how does the assists translate to minutes per game? And when you factor in all of that, especially for as young as these guys are and their ability to improve, I gotta say I really love it. And I expect Stephen Castle to get a lot of games this season. He deserves it. He was a rookie of the year. Like when it came to the amount of points that he scored last season, I think that there's very few guys that come anywhere near close to him when it comes to points when we looked at that. And yeah, I don't think that there's anybody else, maybe except for Kyle Filipowski, but my guess is Kyle Filipowski is probably going to get less minutes unless there are lots of injuries. I do expect to see the likes of Georges Niang do get minutes. Taylor Hendricks get minutes as well. So there's going to be lots of fight for the Utah Jazz. But the guide for the Utah Jazz this season to really watch out for, it's going to be Ace Bailey. There's no other player. Ace Bailey is going to be given a long runway and it's going to be to run. Ace Bailey is going to be the guy. How many minutes do I think he's going to play? I'm thinking 20 minutes a game. I think by the end of the season, I think he's going to have similar numbers to Stephen Castle. Except I think he's probably going to give you like 12 points, probably like 4 rebounds, 2 assists. I think it's going to be a block and a steal, and I think he's gonna be that guy. So Utah Jazz fans, get happy. Like I think what we have in store is going to be really good, and I really like what potentially that we have. And I just have to say that yeah, it's going to be a great season. But my final thoughts are I'm going to be doing another video later on in the week. And we're going to go through some of the third year players in more depth. Then next week, Friday, I'm going to be looking at the fourth year players. And next week, Sunday, we're going to be looking at the fifth year players. And then that leads us straight into preseason, where I'll be looking at doing some previews on how that is. But stay tuned to some of the more content. I'm going to be doing up regular content. And to all the viewers, I'm just going to say thank you once again for watching. Really appreciate the support. I'm at now 52 subscribers, and I really look forward to to getting more and really going along this basketball journey. And yeah, let me know what you guys think of the dashboard that I created via Power BI. That's kind of allowed me to really kind of do these videos and do these videos at a lot more consistent rate. But leave your comments below. Thank you very much. And I will see you all next time.